said, I would like to hand control over to Rick Raubenheimer, our Vice President of Education. Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Just a note from Toastmasters International. This Zoom meeting is being recorded. By attending the meeting, you give permission for Toastmasters International to record it, and you absolve both them and the Zoom platform of any liability for using your likeness, recording your presence, defamation, and anything else they can think of. We will have various members joining us, I hope, as we continue the meeting. I'm acting as Zoom master as well, so I'm admitting people as I see them. And Mpendulo, if you see them first, please feel free to admit them. Let's start with brief introductions, for which we have something like no minutes left, but let's go through them anyway. So I'm Rick Raubenheimer. I'm acting president in the absence of Shamiso. I'm normally educational vice president education. I'm a member of this club, obviously. And I'm happy to be here tonight. I'll pass on to Judith Taylor as next person on the committee. Judith, please introduce yourself briefly.
Evening. Yes, I'm the secretary. I'm a member of Mariswe, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Dominic. If you would like to introduce, oh, sorry, Karyn, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I think you all know me. I'm Karyn, and I'm a member of this club, and I'm also excited to be here.
Thank you, Karyn. Dominic, please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Dominic Villani. I am the SAA of this club as well as timekeeper for tonight.
Thank you. Mpendulo, please introduce yourself to us.
Hi everyone, I'm Mpendulo. I'm a member of the club and it's good to be here tonight.
Thank you, Mpendulo. Didier, please say hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Didier. I'm a member of Mariswe, and today I'm going to be your Toastmaster, so I'm quite excited. Thank you.
Good. And a bit nervous, no doubt, but that's perfectly acceptable. Natalie, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I am a member at Mariswe, and tonight I will be evaluating Enias's speech.
Thank you, Natalie. Mucha, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm sure you can't see me. I see black on my screen because I switched from phone to laptop. I'll fix that in a minute. But I'm happy to be here. I'm a member of my Toastmasters.
Great. Welcome, Mucha. Busisiwe, thank you for joining us. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself to those attending.
Hi, everyone. My name is Busisiwe. I'm the Vice President of Membership. I'm happy to be here, miss all seeing you face to face. And tonight I'm going to be General Evaluator.
Thank you, Busi. Gamuchirai, would you like to unmute yourself and say hi to the club?
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. My name is Gamuchirai Mutezo, a proud member of Mariswe Toastmasters Club.
Thank you. Ian, would you like to unmute yourself, show your video if you can, and introduce yourself to the other people present? Hello, Ian.
Hi everyone. Trying to connect my video here.
Ian, you're very soft. You need to speak closer to your mic if you can, please.
Can you hear me now?
Slightly better.
Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Ian. I'm a member of Mariswe. Glad to be here and able to take part in this meeting.
Great. Thank you. Welcome, Ian. I see that Enias has joined the conversation. Enias, could you please show us your video and unmute yourself and say hello to the rest of the club?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Enias Chingwe, and I'm the immediate past area director, a losing candidate in the Division H director contest that happened over the weekend. I've been with Toastmasters for the past 6 years. I'm a DTM, and tonight I'll be presenting a speech, my fourth speech on innovative planning track. Thank you. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Enias. Enias says he was the losing candidate. I've never seen a vote so close. He lost by something like 1 vote. So we're very sorry about that, Enias. Our condolences, but race well run, and thank you for standing. You still held the flag of Mariswe high.
Definitely. It was a pleasure as well to be standing, representing my club. That's the way to go.
Yes. We also have Komotso joining the meeting tonight. Komotso, would please show us your video and unmute yourself and say hello to the club.
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
You're loud and clear.
Okay, just having a struggle with my internet. My name is Komotso Mahlangu. I'm not a member yet, but then I would love to be a part of the Toastmasters Club. I'm proud to be back.
Fantastic. Has our VPM already contacted you?
Not yet.
Busi, there's a task for you. We also have in the meeting Mako. I don't see a surname. Mako, please show us your video if you can and say hello to the club.
Sorry about that. Just had internet problems there. Evening, guys. My name is Mako Mutezo, and I'm just here as a guest. I'm familiar with the club, but I haven't registered as of yet.
Okay, lovely. Your how manyth meeting with us is this, Mako?
Excuse me?
Your how manyth meeting is this with us?
This would be my second.
Okay, great. Well, welcome back. Good to see
Thank
you. Have I missed anyone?
Thando's on now.
Okay, great. Thando, welcome back. You are just in time to unmute yourself, and we already see your pretty face. But unmute yourself and say hello to the club, please, and maybe move your monitor down a little bit so that we can see a bit more of you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad that I fixed my problem. Thank you.
Was that just a reboot that fixed it, Thando?
Yes, yeah, that's all I did.
Oh, well, Karyn, there you are. That was good advice. Anybody else that I have missed? No, it seems to be everybody. Zen was one who was Zen is now Mako, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, fantastic. That's much better. Thank you. Good to see people's names. Just some protocols for the meeting. unless a speaker requests otherwise, please turn off your video and mute yourself during speeches. And speakers can, using the button just on the right of stop video, which gives you your video settings, choose to turn off viewing people whose video is off. The setting is near the bottom of the list of video settings, and it's hide non-video participants. It's third from the bottom. So if you would like to have a less cluttered view so that you can see the timekeeper better, then please do that. The timekeeper will keep showing their video so that you can see the timing. I think that's about all. Most of us have used Zoom before. If you have any problems, please say so. Preferably keep yourself muted unless you want to speak, so that we don't hear the kids shouting at you and the barking dogs in the background and the police chasing the neighbors because they're out after curfew and all these interesting things that happen. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm handing over control of the meeting to our Toastmaster of the meeting, Toastmaster of the evening, Didier Mbayo. Didier, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very excited this evening to be a Toastmaster, and I think my team is quite an interesting one. The power of asking questions. I think without doubt, questions often open doors and uncover solutions and spark change. Most of the time, people underestimate why you need to ask questions, because questions always are the doorway to either an opportunity, solution to problems. And Frank says no. I've done a bit of research. Frank says no in his book. Ask more, make it clear that smart questions make smarter people. We learn, connect, observe, and invent through the questions we ask. We push boundaries and we discover secrets. And he listed quite a number of questions type that one needs to use when they want to uncover something or, discover an hidden opportunity. But I'm not going to list all of them. But the question in general have a great benefit. When you ask questions, one of the benefits, I'm going to list some of them when you ask questions. It's unlock and open doors that otherwise will remain closed. They are the most effective means of connecting with people. Questions cultivate humility. Questions help you engage others in conversations. And questions allow to build better ideas. And questions give us a different perspective. I mean, during this COVID-19, I've been asking myself a lot of questions, like, what am I learning from this crisis? Am I getting better or am I getting bitter? How do I get through this crisis? What are the hidden opportunities? So questions have this power, and people should not feel ashamed to ask questions, because usually in a setup or in a meetings, people usually feel a bit, uncomfortable to ask questions, because sometimes they think that the questions is stupid. The questions is not important, but questions always are important, because sometimes when you think that nobody have thought about something, it's always good to ask questions. It helps you to know things or raise issues that nobody else has raised during a meeting, for instance. And I would definitely encourage you to use your ability to ask questions, because questions, the more you ask questions, the more you become much smarter in terms of, putting together your questions. So tonight I will introduce our player and our role player. Our hard counter is Gamuchirai. Gamuchirai, can you please explain your role?
Good evening, fellow Toasties. My role tonight is to be our counter, and this will entail listening to everyone's speeches as well as feedback and paying attention to how often words such as if, as well as crutch words such as so and including extended pauses would be used. Please do ensure that you try your level best not to use them because I am ready. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Gamuchirai. Our timekeeper is Dominic Villani. Dominic, can you explain your role?
Hello, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My role as timekeeper is to record and give feedback on the amount of time each speaker takes to give their speech. This includes evaluators and table topics. For the two speeches we have tonight, Thando's speech goes from 7 to 9 minutes. At 7 minutes, I'll be raising the green card. At 8 minutes, I'll be raising the amber card. And at 9 minutes, the red card. I'll be using a similar format for Enias' speech, 5 minutes green card, 6 minutes amber card, and 7 minutes red. And then after that, I will be reporting back at various times during the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dominic. Our grammarian is Mucha. Mucha, can you please explain your role tonight? Mucha, are you there? Can you please explain your role?
I'm here, thank you. Tonight I'll be the grammarian and I'll be in charge of, I'm in charge of the word of the day. The word of the day is decorum. Decorum is behavior that people consider to be correct, polite, and respectable. For example, you can say, I was treated with decorum and respect throughout the investigation. Yes. So I'll listen to the speakers if they're going to use that word in their speeches and as they speak throughout the night. And I'll also listen to good and bad word usage of the language. I'll give a report afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mucha. I will now hand over to Gamuchirai to give a toast to Toastmaster International.
Do we all have our glasses charged? Perfect. Tonight we toast to Toastmasters, a terrific platform that continues to train even in turbulent times, an ongoing and outstanding platform offering opportunities, opulence of knowledge, an agile and amidst adversity ever evolving against all odds. A skills development platform, sincerely welcoming seasoned and shy speakers. Tonight, we toast to Toastmasters. Let's toast with decorum. To Toastmasters.
To Toastmasters.
Thank you.
To Toastmasters.
So our first speech tonight is from Thando, Cofu, and the title of the speech is Monkey King. So I would like to ask the evaluator.
Sorry, Didier, if I may interrupt. We have something that doesn't always occur on programs, but we have an educational, and I have a vested interest in it because I'm the one giving it.
Sorry. I think I jumped.
So you need to introduce that first, please.
Yeah, okay. So tonight we have Raubenheimer, who's going to give us an educational on how to, it's basically about the procedure at the club elections and AGM. And I think the educational will be, I'm not quite sure how many minutes is it going to be, Rick? For your educational tonight?
It's a 20-minute maximum. So if I could have a green on 18, amber on 19.5 and red on 20, Mr. Timekeeper, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I'm handing over to you, Rick, for the educational.
Right, thank you. I just need to share my screen. Right, can everyone see procedure at club elections and AGM?
Yes.
I'm somewhat hampered in that I don't see it. I only see that I'm sharing my screen. This is quite a long presentation because there's a lot to cover and it comes in 3 parts. So I'll get into it right away, provided I can get the thing to proceed forwards. So if we look at part 1, which has to do with the committee, we start by appointing the nomination committee, and that has been appointed, and that is currently the immediate past president, Thembi Gwala, the current president, Shamiso Gusha, and a distinguished previous president of Mariswe Toastmasters and distinguished Toastmaster, Enias Chingwe. The nomination committee is currently accepting nominations. It will then present the list of nominations to the club, and we've already set a date for the AGM and the elections. Before we get into the AGM and elections, I need to mention the roles on the committee that we're actually electing. Firstly, at the head of the club, there's the president. Below the president, we have the vice president education. Then we have the vice president membership, the VPPR, the vice president public relations, the treasurer, the secretary, and the sergeant at arms. Also a member of the committee, but not elected, is the immediate past president. Let's go through the roles from the bottom up and look at what each one does. The sergeant at arms, currently Dominic, is responsible for the logistics of the club, things like banners, timing lights, direction signs, which we don't need tonight, looking after the equipment, and the sergeant at arms is the person who sets up the meeting. For online meetings, in many clubs, the sergeant at arms also functions as the Zoom master. The secretary, currently Judith Taylor, manages all the records, correspondence, everything in terms of minutes and documentation. The club treasurer manages the club's finances, pays the bills, keeps a record of the finance. It's very important, particularly at contest time, because a club must be in good standing to compete, and that depends on us having our membership paid up. The VPPR is the person responsible for bringing new members into the club, for talking to the general public and inviting people to join our club. So if we have lots of visitors, that means that the VPPR has done a good job. The Vice President membership, the VPM, takes over from the VPPR, and once the guests have arrived at the club, the VPM does everything she can in order to get them to join as members. When they've joined as members, the Vice President Education takes over, And the Vice President Education is responsible for seeing that members progress in their educational journeys in Toastmasters, which is these days pathways, that they fulfill their projects, that we have members also doing their leadership projects by taking roles in the meetings, and when they're ready, coming onto the committee. There's a lot of work involved, but at Mariswe, we help to split it by having the Toastmaster of the day recruit members for the meetings. Thank you, Didier. Last, we have the President acting as the CEO of the club, responsible for the club's overall operation, presiding at meetings, guiding the club through the Distinguished Club program, making sure that we meet our goals, organizing exco meetings with the club officers, and working with the person they report to higher up in the Toastmasters hierarchy, which is the area director. So it's the president who gives direction to the club. I don't know how to put this well, but the president may not immediately be re-elected as a president again. The president may take another role on the committee, and after they have not been president for a year, they may, if the club so feels, be elected again as president. The immediate past president is then the president from the previous term, and they act as a mentor for the club. They organize mentorship for members. They help guide the president and the committee. They ensure a smooth transition, and they act as a kind of elder statesman, providing advice and counsel as required by the club. The IPP may also act as parliamentarian at meetings. This is a call to action for you to consider which members of the club you want on your committee for the coming Toastmasters year, which starts on the 1st of July, but will be elected sooner. Please put in your nominations. You can do it on WhatsApp or by any other medium that you prefer, to Thembi, Shamiso, or Enias, preferably within the next week so that they've got a chance to get them together, and you'll see why in a moment. Let's now talk about the club elections and the AGM. Quite often, the elections are actually held at the AGM, or annual general meeting. This year, we're in fact holding them separately, which gives us more time to still have speeches, table topics, and other interesting things like evaluations. So this year, we'll be having them separately. The elections will be at the next meeting on Tuesday, the 26th of May, and the AGM itself will be closer to the end of the Toastmasters year on Tuesday, the 9th of June. Please diarise those dates. In each case, within the main meeting, we have what we call a business meeting, which is held under the auspices of a presiding officer, usually the president, and that's scheduled within the regular meeting, but it has an agenda of its own. Talking about the club elections, as I say, generally chaired by the club president, and this is the procedure that is recommended. We'd list all the nominations with President first, VPE, VPM, VPPR, all the way down to Sergeant at Arms. So then you get a full picture of the people who are standing for the committee. Then for each post, the presiding officer names the nominated candidate, starting with the candidate for president, confirms the nominator and seconder, in other words, they've been properly nominated, properly seconded by a member in good standing, which means they've paid their dues. Once that's been done, they may call for, they will call for nominations from the floor. Again, a nominator and a seconder. Once they have a list of the candidates for the first post, then they ask each candidate if they're willing to stand. If there are multiple candidates, then each candidate gets 3 minutes timed with 2.5, 3 minutes, and 3.5 to cut them off, to address the members and tell them why they should be elected to that post. Then they conduct a secret ballot and announce the winner. If there's only one candidate for a post, then, and this is rather the weird thing, but this is what they do, they ask the Sergeant-at-Arms to cast a single vote on behalf of the club for the candidate, and then they announce that candidate as the winner, obviously. Meanwhile, the Secretary minutes the results. Now, before we get to the new committee, of course, they then proceed to the next post down, the VPE. A losing candidate for the president could then stand from the floor for VPE if they want to, or they might already have been nominated for multiple posts. And this seems the fairest, because if you start with president, then somebody who's missed president can still pull in for the slot below, and so on, so that they get a better chance of being elected instead of simply standing for one post and then losing out entirely. In some clubs, it's traditional for the posts to go up each year. So the VPE would become the president, the VPM would become the VPE, the VPPR would become the VPM, and so on. There's no reason why this has to take place, and quite a lot in the times of Mariswe's history, people have jumped around. Shamiso, for example, hadn't served on the committee much, and she became president. So it's open for any one of you who would like to stand as president or any post, please do. Then the new committee is invested at the last meeting of the current Toastmasters year or the first meeting of the next year. Some clubs have a special dinner at which this happens. We don't, and probably we're not going to be able to this year, certainly. Let's move on to the annual general meeting. The purpose of the AGM is to receive reports from the club officers on what they've done during the year, particularly the president's report, which might include reports from the other committee members, or they might each give their own, depends on the president. The other particularly important report is the Treasurer's financial report for the year, so that we know how they have spent our money, and they would compare what happened against budget. Then the people presenting the reports will take questions. The meeting then approves the report. Particular actions by the committee may be brought to the club for their approval, and anything important should be brought to the club for their approval. And then there may be motions proposed by any members or by members of the committee, debated, voted on, approved, or voted down. That brings us to part 3, meeting procedure. This is a very, very shortened version of a longer thing, and you will find on the web, and I can give you a link to it and a free pass into it, to my presentation on parliamentary procedure. But the idea of parliamentary procedure in a nutshell is to try to balance the interests, often conflicting, between different members in a meeting, provide a smooth procedure, good decorum, and ensure that decisions are made fairly. The majority rules, but the minority has a right to be heard. We base our meetings on Robert's Rules of Order, which has a long and glorious history going back to 1876. And I'm not going to bore you with that. It doesn't have to be. There are many different parliamentary authorities. Often parliaments themselves establish their own rules, but Robert's Rules, being a United States thing and very widespread, is adopted by Toastmasters. Let's give you some definitions. A quorum. Quorum is the minimum number of members needed to be able to run the meeting. At Toastmasters meetings, a quorum is a majority of the members. That means more than 50% of the paid up members who are active at the time. So we don't count members who have been made inactive, only the active membership. Some motions require more than 50%, some motions require a 2/3 majority, for example. The Constitution is the governing document of an organization. Toastmasters prescribes for us our Constitution, except that we have an addendum that can be changed. You can find online the standard Toastmasters Constitution, and you can ask Shamiso, who has custody of it, for our Constitution if there are any differences, any addenda to the main Toastmasters Constitution. And then bylaws, which are standard rules. We don't really have any bylaws in Mariswe. There are also standing rules, and that would be usually in larger organizations. A motion is a formal proposal for something that is going to be adopted at the meeting. And the presiding officer, as I've mentioned, usually the club president, is the leader of the meeting or chairperson. Now, when a motion is presented, and you might want to present a motion to the AGM to say that you want something done in the club, the first step is that you, as they put it, make a motion or propose the motion. You then require a seconder. It's a good idea to line one up beforehand so that you're not embarrassed by nobody supporting the motion. The presiding officer places the motion before the group. It's then open for debate. It is put to a vote, and the presiding officer announces the result. Let's look at those steps in a bit more detail. To make a motion, the member firstly has to obtain recognition by the chair. In an in-person meeting, they would typically be putting up their hand and waiting for the chair to recognize them. On a Zoom meeting, you could put up your hand using the virtual hand signal. Or if we're not terribly formal and you're not muted, then you could unmute yourself and say something like, "Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, may I move a motion?" Once the chair has recognized the member then gets to state their motion. On Zoom, we would typically also ask you to put it in the chat so that everybody can see what the wording of the motion is. So it means it's a good idea if you've typed it out beforehand. Then another member seconds the motion. The presiding officer then puts the motion before the meeting. They state the motion. At this point, minor wording changes can be made if the presiding officer, for example, feels that the motion could be made clearer. But there may be no changes to the substance of the motion. And the presiding officer then says, "It is moved and seconded that," and gives the wording of the motion. We are now ready for discussion on the motion. The motion now belongs to the meeting, and the proposer and seconder cannot withdraw it or change it. It's now debated. The maker of the motion is entitled to speak first. The presiding officer should alternate people for and against so that there's balance. Officially, everyone gets a first chance to speak. They may get a second chance if nobody else wants to speak and there's time. Except the proposer of the motion usually gets to wrap up before the vote. Stick to the merits when you're speaking, be pertinent. The motion is then put to the vote. The presiding officer says, "Are you ready to vote?" States the motion, says how the vote will be taken, perhaps by simply saying aye or nay. If there's doubt, then perhaps by a poll. Those in favour, those against, those abstaining. And then the results are tallied and announced. If it's a tie, then the motion is lost. The presiding officer will then usually say whose job it is to implement the motion. To recap, 6 steps: make a motion, second it, put the motion to the group, debate, vote, and announce the result. That comes from Parliamentary Procedure in Action in the Success Leadership Series. As I say, if you would like access to my online course of about 4 hours so that you can look at all the details, please ask me and I'll give you a free pass. There are also things like subsidiary motions, and I'll run through them very briefly, privileged motions, and incidental motions. In the course, we give you a whole list like this that you can refer to later. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Are there any questions?
No questions.
In that case, I've slightly outstayed my time.
Sorry, Rick.
Yes.
I had a question. I was asking, do we only see who is nominated at the day of the election? So the list cannot be shared before, so we can see who's running, perhaps?
I know at the last election they didn't make it public beforehand, and I think that was a drawback. I would personally like them to make it public beforehand, but I don't have a definitive from this on the committee. Perhaps if several of us ask the committee to do that, then they might be able to do it. That's one reason for my asking people to put in their nominations within the next week so that the committee has a chance to make it public. So it really depends on the committee, but I would certainly like to see it made public beforehand.
Maybe can I respond to that?
Yes, please, Enias.
All right. So as a committee, what we do is anybody who has been nominated for a position, once they say they're interested, then they become a nominee. On the day of the AGM, that's when we present all the names. So at the moment, there is no need for us to share to everyone. We just share with those that have been nominated on the day of the AGM. That's when we review the names.
Oh, okay. I was saying something before.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that because Rick was saying last year the list was not given before, and it was we after everything was done and we had the list of the nominees, we gave a report and we shared it on WhatsApp before the meeting. Like, I think it was, I don't know if it was a day or two before the meeting, but it was not on the day of the meeting. That is how we did it last time.
Thank you, Thando. I appreciate the correction.
All right. If the members want us to share the report, we can definitely do that. I think it will be within the interest of the members. If they wanted us to share, we can say maybe end of next week after we've compiled everything, then we can share. At the moment, what we're waiting is for more members to participate in this process. And I'm sure the presentation that Rick did is going to help us, or you members, to choose who you want to serve in your committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Enias. I think in view of time, and I've run over time with the questions, back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rick, for such a great educational on the procedure for the club elections and the AGM. So tonight, our first speech will be delivered by Thando. But before I introduce Thando, The evaluator will be Natalie Smith. So Natalie, could you please give us the objective of Thando's speech?
Yes, hi guys, I am coming. I am right here. Okay, so Thando is doing a storytelling tonight, and the objective of this is to practice the story within a speech or give a speech that is a story, to be using vivid imagery in the speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. So before I introduce Thando, I ask her perspective and her view in terms of my team tonight. And this is what Thando says. Asking questions help her to understand all things by challenging her own thinking. Very interesting. So please welcome Thando Cofu with her speech, Monkey King.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be telling you a folk tale. A long time ago, a stone sat at the top of the mountain of flowers and fruit. For thousands of years, the stone absorbed the energy from the sun, the moon, heaven, and earth. One day, the stone cracked open and Monkey was born. Monkey was strong, energetic, and intelligent. Soon, he became Monkey King, and he led his fellow monkeys and ruled the mountain. They lived happy lives, but at the same time, Monkey feared death. He heard stories of people becoming immortal. He left the mountain on a quest to be one of them. He studied as the disciple of Kung Fu master for years. He became a strong fighter who could travel 108,000 miles in one leap. He learned the 72 transformations, which led he learned the 72 transformations, which let him change to anything he wanted. He also needed a weapon, so he went to the palace of the Eastern Seas. He pulled out the pillar that calmed the ocean. He shrunk it into a metal staff several feet long. He thanked the dragon and left. The sea roared and swept away the dragon and his soldier. The king of death tried to collect Monkey's soul. Instead, Monkey defeated the king's soldier. He grabbed the list of the mortals and he raised his name and that of his monkeys, and he became immortal. In heaven, Jade Emperor received the report of the chaos, and he wanted the monkey to be arrested. Why don't we avoid shedding karma and offer him a job instead? His aide suggested. So the Jade Emperor agreed. He invited Monkey to heaven and made him the protector of the horses, an important post overseeing his stable. And he became a diligent officer, keeping the horses healthy and fed. Then Monkey learned that there would be a great dinner serving peaches of immortality, and he wondered why he wasn't invited. This is because your rank is too low, a worker replied. Monkey was furious. He was fooled. He sneaked into the kitchen anyway and saw the delicious peaches of immortality. He ate one peach after another. And as he sat on the floor, feeling full, he was found out by the Jade Emperor. Mangi protested. He gave himself the title of Great Sage of Heaven, equal to heaven. He said Jade Emperor should step down and give him the throne. Enough of this nonsense. My great generals, arrest him, said the Jade Emperor. Mangi fought against them, and while he felt bored and a bit tired, this is unfair, he said. So he pulled hair from his head, and each hair became a replica of Mangi, with the same power as him. And some fought the great generals, and while others were just running around. So the Jade Emperor ran to Buddha for help. Meanwhile, Mangi was having fun, and suddenly there was a bright flash, and everyone was gone except for him and Buddha. I have heard that you want the Jade Emperor to step down, Buddha said. He has been there long enough, and now is my turn. I have mastered 72 transformations, and I can travel 108,000 miles in one leap, Mangi said. But can you get out of my palm with one leap? Buddha asked. Of course, Mangi insisted. Then they wagered. If Mangi won, he would become the leader of heaven, and the emperor would step down. If Mangi lost, he would leave heaven alone. Mangi gave his biggest leap that he could. He felt like he had traveled to the end of heaven. He found 5 tall pillars there and wrote on the middle one, Mangi was there. All right, old monk, now keep your promise, Mangi said. But it turned out that the 5 pillars were Buddha's fingers, one of which had the words, Mangi was here. Mangi was shocked. He thought it was a trick and protested loudly. But then Buddha turned his palm, yanking Mangi out of heaven and towards earth. Boom! Palm landed on earth and became a mountain with 5 peaks. Mangi's head was out, his body was trapped under the mountain. He protested even louder. Hey, you cannot do this to me. I'm the great sage equal to heaven. Mangi was trapped for 500 years. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Thando. Let's applaud Thando with a great speech about the Monkey King. Thando, I think you can, unmute and stop your video. So our second speech tonight will be delivered by Enias Chingwe. But before I introduce Enias Chingwe, evaluator will be Karyn Strybos. Karyn, can you please give us the objective of Enias' speech tonight?
Perfect. So, Enias, the purpose of this project is for the member to apply his or her understanding of social media to enhance an established or new social media presence. The purpose of the speech is for the member to share some aspect of his or her experience establishing or enhancing a social media presence. Good luck.
Thank you, Karyn. Before I introduce Enias, I also ask Enias to give me his perspective and view in terms of my team tonight, the power of asking questions. And this is what Enias said. The question you ask determines the direction you take in life. Your wisdom is not in the word you say, but the question you ask. Questions reveal your nature, maturity, mindset, and attitude. Dare to ask noble questions, and you will be led to the door of wisdom and the pool of opportunity. This is a great statement, Enias. So please let me welcome Enias tonight with his speech, Enhancing Your Social Media Visibility.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Every dark cloud has a silver lining. When our president announced the lockdown, it was an opportunity for me to tick something that was in my bucket list. That is building a social media presence. I've always wanted to do that, but then because of time, I could not tackle this project. The lockdown gave me the ample time to be able to approach this project and tick it for my bucket list. I started posting on the 30th of March, and I've been doing so every Monday and every Friday to enhance my media visibility. The content that I was posting was basically around Toastmasters, which is on creating powerful speeches, which is on the speeches that I had presented to conscientize and take Toastmasters from the periphery into our hearts and minds. What I learned is that for you to post something, you have to have content, and you have to have great content that you can share with people. And this is the starting point. Ensure that you collect as much information as you need so that you can be able to interact with your members and post. In terms of the media that I used my Facebook page, our club, Mariswe Toastmasters Facebook page, Southern Africa Facebook page. I also used WhatsApp group. I used LinkedIn, as well as writing an article on our newsletter On Point. In this digital world, it is important that you create media visibility. If you are not visible on social media, I'm sorry to say you are as good as dead. You need to be there to show that you exist. Media visibility helps you to create connections outside the connections that you have. As we all know, your network is your network. And through posting, you tap into those people that are not active on social media. You might ask me, why should you be on social media? Remember, you are a brand. So as a brand, you need to position yourself and be seen out there in terms of your interest, sharing your interest to the people. Everybody has got a story to share. Everybody has got something to share. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with other people, with your audience, so that they know what you stand for. You might ask me, what are the benefits of being on social media? Being on social media creates a brand awareness. As I said, you are a brand, so you can post something personal, something about you, your stories, or you can post something about your company. With myself, I chose to post something about Toastmasters. What it did is that I had a lot of inquiries from people wanting to join Toastmasters. And because of that interaction, today, one of the people that had been inactive for quite some time came back to me and said, I want to be part of it. I see that something is happening at Mariswe, and I want to be part of that story. It's because all those interactions, is because of those postings that I did. Because it creates traffic, and people get to share that information. One thing that you can do is to inform your closer circle so that they share your postings. As those postings are being shared, it creates the ripple effect. People want to engage. The people that that get to interact with your brand creates what is called a social proof. People get to buy into your friends and they sign to become members, or they sign and buy your brand. Secondly, social media is the most cost-effective way of creating brand awareness. You don't have to pay anything except to write your articles, except to spread the message to your circle of influence. The return on investment is very high. Thirdly, do you want to be an influencer? Do you want to be known as an expert? Social media positions you as an expert, as an influencer, a thought leader. As you post, you start engaging people. People start asking, how do I create a great speech, for example? How do I present to my audience? By interacting with them, you are already setting yourself apart. You are already distinguishing yourself as an expert. These are some of the things that you get from being active on social media. You exist. You are not dead. You have got a story to tell. Come out of your shell and share those stories with the world. Create a media visibility. Create a social media visibility. What are you waiting for? Do it now. Dare to be that catalyst. Dare to be on the social media. Enhance your brand. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.
Let applaud Enias Chingwe for his great speech about enhancing the social media visibility. I think these are great tips that you have shared tonight, Enias. I think I will implement some of them, since some of us would like to, move to a career of being a coach or speaker. As we wrap up now, because I think we just need to give a bit of time to the evaluator to complete the evaluation report. I just want to share some few nuggets in terms of power of asking questions again. I was talking in the beginning about Frank Cessno in his book, Ask More. He basically listed 12 types of questions, and I just want to list some of them. The first one is diagnose questions. Those questions are basically questions that pinpoint a problem and fix it. He also listed strategic questions. It's about asking about choices, risk, and consequences. Empathetic questions, if you want to connect with someone. So I realize in my life that the people who ask questions are the people who usually get ahead. They go ahead with the, in terms of inventing things. I think Thomas Edison came up with the bulb because he dared to ask questions as to why. Can we change the way, we can lighten our house or our places? So I think questions are very important. We need to be able to use them and not feeling afraid and not feeling intimidated by what other people will say about us. We need to ask questions when we don't understand things and we want to discover things that are hidden within us. I would like now to ask the timekeeper to give us the report for the 2 speeches that were made tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Firstly, Rick Raubenheimer with his educational came in at 20 minutes and 35 seconds. And with the Q&A, it was an additional 3.5 minutes. The total time was 24 minutes and 9 seconds. Thando Cofu's speech, she finished her speech in the green, 7 minutes and 8 seconds. And Enias Chingwe took 7 minutes and 17 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, timekeeper, for the report. We now need to break. I think the break is about 5 minutes. And you guys can go and stretch your legs or drink something or check your phone. And then we will reconvene in 5 minutes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I've opened a breakout room for the evaluation chair and the evaluators if they want to confer over the break and into table topics.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Our break is up, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to hand over to our Toastmaster, Didier. Didier?
Thank you, Dominic. I would like to introduce now our table topics chair, Judith Taylor, the most exciting time of the evening. Over to you, Judith.
Thank you, Didier. I've got a choice of 10 topics. I don't know we'll get through all of them. However, Mpendulo has volunteered. I'll need other volunteers presently. Mpendulo, choose a number between 1 and 10.
7.
7. Right. Challenges with children during the lockdown. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Table Topic Master. Challenges with children during the lockdown. I'm sure every parent, every guardian, every grandmother will have something to say about the challenges with children during the lockdown. The first challenge is that they've been in a confined space for a very long time. And as we all know, children want to move, they're active, they want to go out, see friends, do something different. So the challenge is to keep them happy and keep them in that space. And I don't know if I'm the only parent that feels this, but there's also the challenge of schooling, and it's my biggest worry. They should be learning something new, they should be interacting and learning from school every day. So the challenge that we have is, from what we've paid those of us who will take them to school, are we getting the value from that as they are sitting at home, as they are learning from home? And then, of course, the last challenge is that of finishing off the resources, food and everything. Actually, I had the King Mswati from Swaziland was addressing the nation. And one of the things that he said is, to show that he's also human, he said, I know that if you're sitting with children at home, they will ask for anything and everything. And it's tough, as we know, the economic conditions, to be having children to ask, wanting this and that. And yet parents are struggling as, resources are limited. So those are the challenges that I'd like to share with you tonight. The challenge of the space, the challenge of learning, and the challenge of the food. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mpendulo. Who will volunteer to do the next topic?
I wouldn't mind doing the next topic.
Lovely. Which number would you like?
May I please have 4?
4, yes. How is working from home going?
Can I just please get the guidelines of the table topics just to be sure of the timeline and the...
Right, you've got 2, sorry, 2 minutes in total, so 1, 1.5, 2. Anything you want to say around the topic? Totally up to you.
Okay, I think we can get ready now. Can I just get the topic one more time?
Right. So it's, how is working from home going for you?
Working from home has been an eye-opening experience, only because of the fact that when you realize of how much time you have regarding the things that you prioritize in your day, you acknowledge that step by step, there are very increment details that you miss, and you tend to always assume that you've thoroughly gone through the work that you would have assumed would be productive, but you now acknowledge that there's so many loopholes that you're trying to figure out whether you're actually being productive or not. So the past few weeks, I'd say about 3, have been going pretty well, but then I still acknowledge that the resources that are provided by so many people and how connected they are, it makes you realize that many of the productive activities are very dependent on people. And it makes it difficult when you've been excluded from the whole community. So working from home has been definitely a challenging but eye-opening experience. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Judith.
Sorry. Are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished. Apologies, I didn't complete that.
Very well done. Thank you very much, Mako.
Thank you very much.
Who's my next volunteer?
Mucha.
Hi. Hi, Mucha. What number would you like? Any except 4 or 7?
Number 2.
Number 2. Right. During this period, have you baked, and what have you baked?
Thank you so much. It has been a time for baking for us as a family. We have been baking bread since day 1 of lockdown because we were not so confident to go out and buy bread. And I didn't want to pile on bread in the fridge or the freezer. So I wanted fresh bread, and we ended up connecting with my children through baking. Initially, we bought the already made dough to make bread. And then I also had to use my own recipe of making bread, which was really nice. And we enjoyed it because I put in a little bit of other things in there. I don't know if we can call it bread or what, or maybe half bread, half cake, because I put a bit of eggs as well. We also made pizza. We made pizza because the kids were also missing a bit of pizza. So we baked pizza with my little boy and my girl. And I mean, it has been a very good time for us to connect, for me as a parent to connect with my children through baking. And then my oven went kaput a few weeks ago. No more baking, I can only grill. So the baking has been put on hold until I can buy a new stove. I hope it is one of the essentials that I can have and buy a new stove because it needs a replacement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mucha. That was great. Do I have another volunteer?
I'll volunteer if nobody else is keen.
Right. Any number between 1 and 10 except 2, 4, and 7.
Oh, let's have 1.
Okay. Right. Do you wear pajamas all day? If why? If so, why? If so, not why?
It's a rather funny question for the person who sleeps next to me to ask me. And no, I don't wear pajamas all day. I put on my business suit and walk all the way to the office, which is down the corridor, and behave as I normally would behave during a business day. I am dressed as you see me now, and I need to do that because I may well be speaking to people on video calls. And just in case you think I'm wearing pajama pants, I'm not. They say that broadcasters sometimes come to work dressed in a suit on the top and something casual below, because nobody ever sees the lower section if they're sitting behind a desk on TV. So no, I come to the office as I usually would. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rick. Do I have any other volunteers?
All right, I'm available. Enias?
Right,
Enias.
Enias. What number would you like?
Give me number 7. Has it been taken?
7's taken.
All right, give me 3 then.
Right. Enias, did you get a mask and wear it?
If I tell him I was actually going to show you my mask. Yes, in this environment where COVID is causing havoc, it is important that you actually adhere to the government directive. And when the government announced that everybody has to wear a mask, I quickly went out and bought my 3 masks that I'm using at the moment. This is to protect myself and also to protect my family. I also did the same thing. You know, everybody has got their mask, because we need to be very careful. We should not be careless in this environment. This coronavirus is very deadly. And for us to just wish it away or hope that the curve will flatten will not help. We need to be very much involved. We need to be very much vigilant to ensure that we are safe and to ensure that we can go back to our work, back to what I would call the new normal, and do what we do with our lives. Otherwise, if we don't stick to the regulations, the coronavirus would literally affect and infect more than half of the population. I saw the report that came out that said, you know, at the moment we are actually not even at the peak of this virus. So with that in mind, as an active citizen, I had to quickly buy a mask. And yes, I wear different types of masks to protect myself and the generality of the people. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Enias. That was very good. Thanks a lot. Do I have another volunteer?
I'll be the last person to speak.
Righty-ho. Which number would you like, Gamu? You can have 5, 6, 8, 9, or 10.
Number 10.
Okay. If we go to level 3 tomorrow, what would you do first?
Well, first question is, what does level 3 entail? One thing for sure is that my husband, which is Mr. Passport, is missing me a lot. We've been having trouble in our relationship because he hasn't been stamped in a while. So that is one thing I would have loved to do. Unfortunately, the reality is that most airlines are down, so that might result in stamping the passport into a neighboring border, a provincial border, that is. Another element is definitely taking in the beautiful sunrise and the sunset, irrespective of how cold it's starting to get, and just simply enjoy the outdoors. The third element is considering whether one still needs to use space, but more working spaces, especially where meetings are concerned, where engagement is required. The idea of paying rent, the idea of having operational expenses become lessons of issue. So those are the three key things I want to look out for, certainly being outdoors and just looking at more of a minimalistic lifestyle from a business perspective. Madam Table Topics.
Thank you very much, Gamu. That was great. Any other volunteers, or should I hand back to Didier? I think I'll hand back to Didier. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Madam Table Topic Master. Can we have the Timekeeper report for the table topic speeches tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. For our table topics, Mpendulo, you made it at 2 minutes and 1 second. Mako, 1 minute and 3 seconds. Mucha, 1 minute and 30 seconds. Rick, 1 minute and 4 seconds. Enias, 2 minutes and 9 seconds. And Gamu, 1 minute and 16 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dominic. And now I would like to introduce our evaluation chair, Busisiwe. So she's going to give us the report in terms of the prepared speech.
Good evening once again, everyone. I'm the evaluation chair for the evening. We have 2 speeches to evaluate. I want to remind our evaluators and also to remind our members and guests what evaluation is about. Our evaluators are going to speak about where the speaker excelled in, and they'll also indicate areas where the speaker can improve and what the speaker should continue doing. Also to remember that evaluations are done by fellow Toastmasters and it's based on the objective of the speaker's speech. As usual, as we all say in our club, that we evaluate the speech and not the speaker, and the overall objective of an evaluation is again to help the member improve and to give feedback for the next speech and also to motivate the member. To begin, I would like to introduce our first evaluator is Natalie, who will be evaluating Thando's speech. Natalie, over to you.
But good evening, everybody, again. I am evaluating Thando's speech, as Busi said, and it is a folk tale, and the purpose of the speech was to tell a folk tale that is entertaining and enjoyable for a specific age group, choose vivid imagery and voice to enhance the tale. So first off, I'd just like to say that I really enjoyed the speech or this folk tale. I did feel like I was on an adventure with Thando. It was really good. The imagery was very vivid as per the purpose statement, and you could actually see the adventure in your mind as she was speaking. Could also feel the emotion of the different parts of the story as she was speaking. Angry or surprised, you could hear it in the tone of her voice. So the changes in the volume and the tempo and the rhythm, I think, enabled us to feel the emotion and where we were in the story, and we felt pulled into the story with all these different ways that the story was told. So things that you may want to perhaps work on. There were a couple of times in the folk tale where you stumbled. I'm not 100% sure if it needed more practice, or you can't really tell in the situation if you have the speech in front of you, or maybe you needed to read from key cards. So when you stumbled, it did feel like we kind of got snapped out of that visual storytelling, because you had kind of stumbled, and then we had to like get back into it as you got back into the story. And it was quite similar for the that part of it. Then the vocal variety and the gestures both started off quite well, but then tapered off quite a bit. So I don't know if we can't see you properly here, but I could see at the bottom of the screen that you were trying to do some gestures. So maybe to stand back and use like more of the space so we can see the gestures. I would have liked to have seen more of you. I feel like we maybe missed some of that, and we needed some more space and some more physical presence. But in general, I thought it was very good, and Thando certainly excelled at the folktale. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalie, for that evaluation of Thando's speech. Our next evaluator for the evening is Karyn, and Karyn will be evaluating Enias' speech.
Hi, Enias. Is your video on? So I can look at you. Okay, so Enias, well done.
Yeah, I am.
Great speech. Awesome. What you excelled at, I loved your opening. It was great and punchy. Every dark cloud has a silver lining. I loved how you took a situation that a lot of people would see the negative lining of it, and you turned it into something positive by doing something that was part of your bucket list, putting together a social media presence. Really good tone changes, and you completely got the gist of what social media is about. Posting great content that drives engagement, media visibility, creating connections, and also just creating the type of content that allows you to be seen as an expert or an influencer or a thought leader. The powerful and the truthful speeches of, if you are not visible, you are as good as dead. Those were some really great insights. I enjoyed learning that your post had people wanting to join Toastmasters, but would have liked to hear a bit more about the engagement that you had on your posts and how you enhanced the presence of your channels that you used, your Facebook and the social, the Toastmasters Facebook, your various social accounts. Would have liked to hear a little bit more about that. And what you might want to try is, in person you have a lot of energy and your endings are really powerful, but I felt like this speech lacked that powerful ending. There were powerful words like "do it now," but your tone didn't really match that. And I think it's the new challenge that we're facing in this new normal, because how do we give powerful, impactful speeches without being able to move around? We've got limitations now. So potentially what you could do is try standing next time to make it feel like a normal room. Or perhaps if we have our videos on, it's all about what your trigger is, what makes you feel more energized. And whatever works for you, we can assist with that. So I think it was a great speech. I think this is new territory that we're dabbling in, but well done. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your social media. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Karyn, for that evaluation. I would like to hand back to our Toastmaster for the evening to continue with our program.
Thank you, Evaluation Chair. So can we have the report from the Timekeeper on the evaluation done this evening?
Okay. Keeping up with temporal decorum, Natalie Smith. Her evaluation was 2 minutes and 34 seconds, and Karyn Strybos's evaluation was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Timekeeper. Now, can we have the HA counter report?
Good evening once again, Mr. Toastmaster. I'll actually start with you. I'm just wondering, is it part of the French accent or something else? So for that reason, I did not actually count. I think it was part of this French accent. Nonetheless, I've done rather groupings in terms of the number of sounds that were made. The first grouping looks at those who have used the crutch words, anything between 1 to 6 times, and the second grouping looks at those who've used crutch words between 7 and 12 times. So those who used it in the first grouping are Mako and Busi, as well as Karyn. So you used it between 1 and 6 times, or rather 1 and 5 times. The second grouping, Mpendulo, Mucha, Dominic, and Natalie, you guys used it more than 10 times. So if there was an award for the second group would take it. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, our counter report. Can we have the report from the Grammarian?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As the grammarian, I was very happy because a lot of people managed to use the word of the day, decorum. And we see from Gamu, she incorporated the word in her toast. We toasted with decorum today. And also Rick, when you're talking about parliament, usually we hear about the decorum in parliament, and you also incorporate it very well. I'm sure it's also part of the parliamentary that we have to have good decorum. Also, Dominic, he did put it in as well. And some of the words that we used today that were very exciting in terms of the language. We had phrases and words like every dark cloud is a silver lining. We heard about the net worth. We also heard about I open experiences, my husband, Mr. Passport, adventure in mind. And yeah, I thought it was
Move to the interesting part of the meeting as well, the voting. Rick, I think I just saw a message. I don't know how people will be voting tonight. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you need to elaborate a bit.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank
you, Mr. Toastmaster. We don't seem to have managed to set up a poll on Zoom, so I have set up a Google form, and I've posted the link both on the chat in Zoom and also on the WhatsApp group for Mariswe Toastmasters. You can use either one. Please don't use both and get yourself voting twice. So we've had 8 responses already, and I'll keep it open until we get to the point in the meeting where we start making the awards, and then I will close it. So you have a few minutes to vote, and we will announce the results shortly. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rick. Now I'm going to hand over to our General Evaluator, Busisiwe.
Thank you once again. Can everyone please mute? Thank you. I'll be the General Evaluator for the evening, where I've made notes on the meeting and how we followed the program, how we stuck to the Toastmasters format, and let's see if we can improve from our meetings and have more effective Zoom meetings. For the meeting, was the room and equipment set up on time, which it was. The Zoom meeting was shared, the password and the link was shared ahead of the meeting. All guests were welcomed by our acting president, being Rick, for the evening. And also the guests were introduced to the group, and the members will also introduce themselves before the meeting. From the meeting, the presiding officer, being Rick, was also prepared and organized, although our president had to pull out in the last minute, so that was great on his part. The meeting did start on time as well. What was also great about this meeting is all roles were fulfilled before the meeting was started today, and the Toastmasters did a great job in introducing the theme for the evening and also explaining the theme with his introduction. And the Toastmaster also did a great job in introducing all the role players for the evening. With all the role players as well, they all did a great job in terms of introducing all the role players, what they're going to do for the evening, and they also introduced the roles within the allotted time. So that's a great job from all the role players from the evening. I'm not going to say anything about the topics master for the evening with Judith, because I wasn't part of most of it because I was in the breakout room. But overall, great meeting held on Zoom. Zoom for me is still uncomfortable, but I'm getting used to it, and I'm starting to enjoy it more often. But again, I'm missing everybody face to face. I have a few more pointers to add on, and what we need to continue doing is that I saw the meeting was also posted on Facebook, which is great, and we shared that it's going to be on Zoom, and we can also share the links that were shared ahead of the meeting, which was a great job by VPR. And the Google Forms, which I just saw now, it's a brilliant idea, which allows us to collect all the results for the votes quickly. So thank you for that initiative, Rick. On that note, following on is the area of improvement. It would have been great to see the form earlier on in the evening. So I guess we'll see it earlier on meetings going forward. So it will help us be more effective with our voting, which is great. And what else? Share the link at the peak. I don't know what I wrote there. But awesome meeting. Thank you very much. I enjoy this club. I enjoy meeting you guys every Tuesday. And I'm hoping we see each other again in person soon. Lockdown when it's over. Thank you.
Thank you, our General Evaluator. I'm going to hand over to our President now. Thank you.
Thank you, Didier. Much appreciated and well done in your first stint as Toastmaster of the evening. I think we owe him a round of applause for that wonderful effort. Well done. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to Honour Point and the awards. I will give you a few more seconds to do your vote if you want to. I don't think everybody has voted. We seem to have more people in the room than the number that I have here, which got 17 participants. I somehow don't seem to be able to vote in my own poll, which is probably just as well. But I've only got 10 responses, so the remaining 6 would like to quickly make their choice and submit. Going once. Going twice. I am closing voting. Right, let's see if I can set this up so that we can see only what is required. Right, I think that will have to do. Let me share my screen and see if I can find the thing. Oh, there we go. Right, before I share it, for Best Evaluator, please let's have a drum roll. Thank you. And Best Evaluator is Karyn Strybos. So here we have the Best Evaluator trophy, which I will pass to you virtually.
Thank you.
Well done, Karyn. Oh, best table topic. I have no idea who it is. Let's have a look. Best table topic with 37.5%. Mucha. Congratulations, Mucha. Come on camera and receive your award. Oh, sorry, that was best table topic. Here's the best table topic award. Allow me to pass it to you virtually. Well done. And ladies and gentlemen, the final award of the evening. Can we have a drum roll, please, for the best speaker of the evening? Thank you very much. Best speaker by a short head, Thando Cofu. Thando.
And she's not managed to come back on.
Oh, she has, yes. She
has. Oh, great. Fantastic.
Jolly good, Thando. Here we
my
are.
video is not working. Thank
Passing
you.
it to you through the screen. Remember, you're only allowed to keep the trophy till the end of the evening. I need it back when we close. Thank you very much. And I can now stop sharing my screen and revert to the program. Right. On a point, would anybody like to draw anything to the attention of the meeting? Please unmute yourself and draw my attention. Anybody?
Yes, sorry, yes, I'm going to unmute myself.
Natalie.
Yes, just a quick something, I'm not even sure. I know that we're probably a while away from doing a actual meeting, a face-to-face meeting again, but I'm assuming that when we do, which hold times will be soon, we will still have to do social distancing. So I'm guessing what, 1.5 meters away from each other. So just looking for a new, because we won't all fit into that boardroom. So it was just something that I was thinking about. I don't know if the current head people are, if we've had any discussions around that.
The kitchen is always available, and it's always been bigger when you needed a bigger venue.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yes, that's
Thank you.
That's a good point. So we can think about that, and I don't think many of us have thought that far ahead. But yes, so we'll bear it in mind as a committee. Thank you for that,
I'm just
Natalie.
excited to get back, Rick, that's all.
Yes. It will be an interesting thing giving a speech with a mask on. I should probably see if I can get a
True.
Batman mask or something. Anybody else?
Okay, myself.
Thank you, Enias.
All right. As you see, I delivered a speech on building social media presence. It is a club, I think this past 2 meetings, we've not advertised them properly on social media. I would say whoever is going to be the Toastmaster, we need to have the theme and the advertises on social media, and let's all share the meetings so that we attract energy, we attract a lot of members and visitors as well. I mean, I've attended meetings where there'll be 100 people, 70 people, and we are just below 20. You know, it's just the familiar faces. So this is the online space. Let's share out there. Let's get people joining. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you, Enias. I'm sure our VPPR is taking note of that. Anybody else with a point for us to consider? Okay, if there is nobody, I would like to very belatedly welcome 2 people that have joined in the interim. Martha, would you like to unmute yourself and show your video and just say hello and goodbye to the club? Thank you for joining us.
Martha?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everyone. My name is Martha from Namibia. I just saw it on Facebook, so I just thought I should follow. And it was so great to see Busi on it.
I went to school with Martha.
Oh, lovely. Oh, wow, wonderful.
I was so shocked.
Thank you, Martha. And then we have presumably a relation, Helia Kanyamba, as well. Would you like to unmute yourself and show your video and say hello to the club?
Hello, hi everyone. Hi. So this is Martha's sister. She's basically using the same, I was just helping her connect to the Zoom. Hello.
Hello, yes, no problem. Welcome anyway, nice to have you here.
Likewise. Great to
Thank
see
you.
everybody.
Great. Well, thanks for attending our meeting. Please bear in mind the next meeting in 2 weeks' time, which is a very important meeting because we need to elect the new committee and you're going to then be stuck with them for the rest of the year, so do make wise choices. And then the AGM. Now, at both of them, it's very important that we have a quorum. So please indicate as soon as possible on Easy Speak that you are going to attend, so that we know that you are, and if you don't, then we'll have to chase you. If you can't attend for any reason, and here I speak mostly to the people who are not attending at the moment, it would be a good idea to apply to become inactive for a while, just so that, I'm just going to mute that one, just so that we are able to get a quorum of the people who are active. Remember, the quorum is just of the active members. Remember to get your nominations in as soon as possible. And with that, if there is no further business, I'd like to thank you all very much for attending. Remember to switch your cell phones on again. And have a wonderful 2 weeks until we meet again. Good night.
Thanks, Rick. Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Rick. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.